Domestic violence covers the waterfront. Every profession and every kind of household has this problem. Susan B. Anthony today is really a miracle. It's really a marvel. It provides services that I could hardly have believed we would provide way back in the beginning.
My dream is that we go out of business because there's no need for us, but it's not going to happen in my lifetime.
I'm Toby Hannah Davies, one of Jillian Hannah's 3 daughters.
I'm always called Jandy, and I am the 3rd daughter, 4th child of Jillian Sidey Hannah.
My name's Sarah Doremus, and my mom was Polly.
Trinity Episcopal Church was very, very important to her. That's where she knew Polly Doremus from.
She was good friends with Jillian, and I think that they saw a need and they felt that they would be able to help with filling it.
She talked a lot about Polly and the other folks and her connections with them and how she'd met them and how close she felt to them. She really blossomed in the role of planning and organizing to make the world a better place.
Rotary Club guys said, we always hold our wallet when Polly comes up to us because we know she's going to ask us for money for Susan B. Anthony.
My mom, Jillian, was using her condo to house people who needed to get out of dangerous situations. She knew how lucky she was. She said to me, why do I have a safe place to live when so many people are in really hard situations? She had a really big heart.
I got to understand the depth of their friendship when my mother had a bad car accident. She spent quite a bit of time in the hospital. Polly told me, she's coming home to my house. She will come with me and it will be fine. And it was. I realized how much their relationship meant. It was a wonderful side effect for her of having gotten together with this wonderful group of people.
My name is Faith Tway Grant, and came on in 1982 when we were forming.
I'm Gary Grant, and I was on the board longer than you.
Yeah.
I'm actually president at one point. We started in a room at Trinity Episcopal Church, and we passed a hat to raise $20 for stamps, and that's when the project started. One of the first projects that we took on is going around educating the hospitals what they needed to do, what they needed to record on all the incidents, to collect the data, and once we had the data, then we could go further.
Get funding.
My name is Claudette Burrill, and I joined Susan B. in 1984 as an executive director. And I was one of the first couple of staff that were hired. There was an apartment over Barry Cohn's, and that was maybe 4 rooms with desks and a long phone cord that we moved around. We were in the process of trying to start a volunteer crisis line.
I remember all the stuff that we went through. Once we collected all the data, got the project up and running, the helpline going, me and Faith, we drove people. We went and picked up people on street corners, brought them to bus stations in Hartford. We were the network.
Tracy Thurman's case happened. That tragedy was definitely something that allowed the community to recognize that this was not something to be ignored anymore, that it was not a private matter. Insurance companies, prosecutors, judges, victim advocates were getting together to see about trying to have a law about domestic violence in Connecticut. Tracy Thurman testified in Hartford.
And unfortunately, it takes some, like what happened to me, for anything to become of anything. I'm grateful that all this has come out of what I had to go through. There's places that women and kids and anybody have somewhere to go to talk, the support system, the backing of the court. Like when I criminal trial, Susan B. was there for me. I mean, to look back and know that you had a whole audience of women backing you made a huge difference. Even though I live with the emotional and the physical, to think, to go through something like this and nothing, no change. I mean, I know there's a lot of more work to be done and stuff, but just to have a place like Susan B. Anthony, to be able to know that you're not alone. I've always said that if Susan B. Anthony existed at the time, I would have, been able to utilize all the programs, the resources. I would add the support system that I didn't have.
That event allowed us to pivot into a very formal organization. It felt like fundamental work that needed to be done in order to move forward and have any impact. Well, I think the biggest event was actually getting a shelter. So prior to that, Polly and Jillian organized basically host homes and, would get a call and pick up somebody at a hairdresser, hand her a wig, tell her to get under the seat. They were like these vigilantes. I don't think we ever thought beyond the next grant cycle, beyond the next mortgage payment for the shelter, the next fundraiser.
I was asked to be on the board. I don't remember the year, early 90s, I think. Eventually became board president for, I think it was 5 or 6 years. The need was to look for funding. So there was, going from one grant to the next, looking at all the possibilities, any kind of state funding that was available.
Just caring about people in essence, but definitely in women because the women were not treated well. And then along with that, the support to help women especially value themselves, that they're important enough to get out of that situation and to go to the courts and to go seek help.
I think it's really important to keep history in mind and to remember that we got to this place by the hard work of victims as well as the people who were working to change things. I don't think we should take for granted that things won't always be this way, that there will be more challenges ahead, and there are challenges now.
I think we made a significant difference in a lot of people's lives. And hopefully the children of the women don't repeat the cycle.
I'm Barbara Spiegel, and I was the executive director for 20 years. When I got to Susan B. Anthony Project, it was about 12 years old, and I had been around a bit for the board. We were in good shape for a 12-year-old organization. We were a really crowded office. We were understaffed, and the staff were underpaid. But the organization was established, the mission was clear, the board was supportive. It was the organization's adolescence and moving into maybe its adulthood.
My name is Diana Savory. Janet Hooper was on the board and she wanted to find a replacement, and she approached me and I said yes. We were just people with big hearts, I'd say. Well, my big event was the Wreath Project, and that was a great way of getting the community involved.
They were delivering the wreaths on a Friday morning and no one was available to unload the truck. I don't know how it came about, but Jillian Hanna, one of the founding mothers, was there, and she said, well, we have to unload it. And I looked at it, it was like, it's you and me. And we spent several hours that morning in the cold in the back of the Prospect Avenue office and unloading all these wreaths. It just all came to light that day. Of course, Susan B. Anthony the project will continue because of this amazing spirit that you just jump in and do it. Do whatever you have to do at that period of time.
I'm Marlena Smith. I became vice president. That may have been a mistake because it just put me in line to be president. And at that point, we had started thinking about capital campaign.
I'm Barbara Putnam, and I'm Bob Beerson's widow. So I was referred to for a while as the shadow board member because I was supporting everything he was doing. But then he got me officially involved when he needed a building committee member. the Kresge Foundation. That was a big deal. He went out to the Midwest somewhere to talk to the Kresge Foundation with Barbara Spiegel. And he was like, really geared up to get all the presentation together. And he was really happy with how it went. And they got the grant. It was really cool.
The Capitol campaign was huge. We went from the old, little, crowded, tired building to a big, bold, beautiful building.
I was there to be an architectural designer, and Alan Borghese was the engineer contractor expertise. He was wonderful.
I mean, how we ended up at $2.5 million is sort of weird.
2.7.
Well, I know, but the goal was 2.5. We just overshot it.
The plan included raising enough money to really enhance the staff and the training and the benefits and the salaries. That was an important part of the Capitol campaign. Not only do we need a good building, but we need good staff to staff the building.
When we reached our campaign goal, I was like, what am I going to do now? It was very exciting to see people get on board with us. There's been more and more willingness to talk about sexual abuse and domestic violence and how it's not their problem, it's everybody's problem, and it happens in all of our communities. So the issues grew to be more present in those years.
My name is Phil Dunn. I was introduced to Susan B. Anthony in 2005. I was molested when I was 8, and it really messed me up for a very long time. I was afraid to say anything or do anything, but it got to the point in my life where sharing about the things that were bothering me or continue to use until I die, I had to make a decision what was more important. Molly helped me tremendously. She made me aware that I had been suffering from PTSD. She gave me counsel. She listened to me, and she coached me through those things, and I felt safe. I was able to get help. I was able to get hope. I was able to not allow the things that had happened to me in the past to control my future.
I think awareness is really the biggest gift that Susan B. Anthony Project has given to this community.
My name is Tanya Higdare. I started working at Susan B. I believe it was March of 2003, and I was the community educator, I think, for a little over 3 years. As a prevention educator, I was in charge of kind of organizing the outreach to the community, and primarily what I was doing was connecting with the schools all throughout Litchfield County. Healthy relationships, conflict resolution, helping people to feel welcome, the work that we did at the agency, how we support survivors, dating violence, sexual harassment, sexual assault.
We told our story hundreds of times to people, and so our whole presence in the area grew.
As much as the police, the judicial system, and even an agency like Susan B. Anthony is trying to help and support, we needed community movement.
Being, present and connected to a lot of people in the community made a difference in terms of people understanding the work and people becoming donors. Susan B. Anthony Project was respected when I arrived. But like 20 years later, we were just that much sort of bigger, louder presence. I'm pleased to be in the company that I keep with Claude Apparil, who preceded me, and Jean Fusco, who succeeded me.
Failure is impossible. I mean, from day one, from Polly Doremus and Jillian Hanna, that would continue. There was no question in their mind.
It's like the organization has threw a stone into the community, and the community reacted with the ripples that went out.
I'm Jean Fusco. I started working at Susan B. Anthony Project in 1994, and currently I'm the executive director. I think the thing that stands out to me most about all of the development and growth is so completely rooted in the original founding mission of Susan B. Anthony Project. Understanding that mission of serving victims and survivors and looking forward to how we create awareness in the community drives all of the change. Change has been exponential in a lot of ways and is expected in the evolution of an organization. I think that the forethought of those founders has guided us in every way through these 40 years.
My name is Eni Laocha, and I am the bilingual sexual assault advocate. I hope that I can bring knowledge to this community, the Spanish-speaking community, about who we are and the fact that we are here to serve them. People were kind of like afraid to reach out because of the language barrier or other cultural reasons, but they need to know that we're here, they're not alone, and that we're here to serve them.
My real hope is that we have created a more fair, transparent, and collaborative coalition in which our collective voice is much, much stronger in terms of advocating for the needs of survivors than it would be with us all working individually. I am Beth Hamilton. I am the Executive Director of the Connecticut Alliance to End Sexual Violence. I think something that we need to continue is just partnering with local communities to understand that really to respond to any kind of violence, but also to prevent violence, takes entire communities.
John Capobianco. I am the Senior Vice President for Operations at Charlotte-Hungerford Hospital, Hartford Healthcare. Collaborations, cooperations, working together with other agencies is vitally important. I mean, seamless coordination, the ability to have relationships so that when our patients need it, when they're most vulnerable, we can respond and have that good collaborative working relationship. It's only going to benefit ultimately the community.
William Baldwin, Police Chief for the City of Torrington, Connecticut. Susan B. Anthony Project has been one of those significant partners that we work with on a regular basis. I've always said that out of bad tragedies comes great things. And I think the Tracy Thurman case, it was the catalyst for nationwide and international recognition of domestic violence. And as unfortunate as that situation was, the positive part of it was that we've come an awful long way. I'm proud of the fact that we have become so more in tune and have been so more receptive and pay attention so much more to the domestic violence situations that are taking place.
We want to see the people in community partnering, working all together and do these great things that we can do together. We are here to make sure your story is being told.
We always hope that that positive direction remains positive and that the change continues.
My name is Megan Scanlon. My position is CEO at the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I think we've made a lot of progress in terms of being able to talk more openly about domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and family violence. We've also given individuals words they can use to describe what they're experiencing, which I think is really powerful when it comes to where Susan B. Anthony plays a critical role, which is connecting individuals and families experiencing trauma and violence to services that can help them get out of those situations and thrive beyond those situations.
I am really proud that we are an organization who is so focused on survivor need, and that everything that we're driven to do comes from that desire and passion to serve victims and survivors, to understand their stories in their words.
My name is Christina Gunblack, and I am a client, have been a client for more than 10 years. I had the final domestic violence situation in my home and decided to leave my ex-husband, and I called Susan B. and I started coming here. This organization has given me my life. I've used the advocates to have counseling, the civil part of getting the divorce. I definitely can say that I wouldn't be where I am today without you guys.
Dr. Bill Pettit here, president of the Pettit Family Foundation. Part of our mission is to help and protect people impacted by violence. We think it's a basic right to feel safe and to feel comfortable and live your life without fear of injury. We have been incredibly happy in our partnership with Susan B. Anthony in terms of the direct care that they provide.
I'm Kirsten Utella, and I am currently the Vice President of the board. I think we're on a tremendous trajectory for success. What I'd like to see for this organization is that it continues to have the impact in the community that it's had, and that as we focus more on outreach, prevention, education, that we're maybe able to get some sort of influence to try and stop that trend.
I was one of the founders of the Founders Society because I think it's important for an organization such as this to have an endowment, and also for people to be able to provide for things after they've gone. The prevention part of the work is so important. It would be wonderful to not be needed anymore. And I think that having a Founders Society helps to perpetuate the organization.
The endowment will be ultimately there to help supplement the need for income, so that if there was a huge upheaval, you'd still be able to keep going. It's not something that should ever stop you from telling the story.
What we're doing is every mom would be just right down his alley. And it's so key to, our hope that someday we'll, work ourselves out of a job.
Optimism is critical as we move forward. We want to break the cycle and the patterns of domestic and sexual violence. And the focus to prevention is really, I think, the critical key points of how we move ourselves forward toward that goal. I hear Polly's words in my head when she was filmed at another point in time saying, we wish that we would never really have to be here, and I'm not sure that will happen in my lifetime. The hope is that with our prevention work, that this will be so much more a topic of conversation and everybody will have awareness. Happy 40th anniversary to everyone who has been instrumental in creating this life-saving organization, and thank you.
Susan B. Anthony Project.
Freeing.
Supportive.
Extraordinary.
Hope.
Friendship.
Vital.
Empowering.
Unconditional understanding. A community of supporters.
Survivor focused.
Giving courage.
Magnificent.
Security.
Well-informed. Passionate.
Dependable.
Safety, healing, growth.